If you want to continue to follow our adventure, click subscribe. So you don't miss anything, click the bell notification. Full House on the Road subscribers and followers. I want to break this down into about basically three aspects. One, I want to talk to the folks that are suffering from anxiety, depression, and bipolar disorder. These are mental disorders that can cause a lot of mental pain and stress on the individual. I also want to talk to the folks who come out here and witness folks with those kind of disorders. And thirdly, I want to talk about my qualifications to be able to discuss this in some rudimentary fashion. And I think I have a qualification in two aspects. One, Carolyn suffers from extreme anxiety, social anxiety. And it is very difficult for her to function anymore without medication or self-medicating. And what I mean by that is either she goes to the doctor and she gets medication that just kind of wipes her out, or alcohol. And neither one of those are satisfactory to her. She chooses not to do that. And then finally, the other thing that I think qualifies me is I worked for a sheltered workshop. We hired folks that had mental disabilities, whether they were born with them, such as autism or Down syndrome or some sort of learning disability, or mental illness, which anxiety, depression, or bipolar. And there's others that are just really more extreme. We had to teach these folks how to work in an environment where they could work with others and work in a manufacturing. So I feel like I have some qualifications on this. Now, the reason I bring this up, because a lot of folks ask the question, I have XYZ disability. How is it for me to come out here and live, out here in the national forest? And here's the thing. Let's talk about Carolyn. Carolyn just cannot interact with in a social environment anymore. It is just impossible for her to do. What it is her flight or fight response kicks in. She gets scared. And it's not anything she can control. It is a mental disability. It's there, and it's something she has to deal with. So all these endorphins kick in, and she has to do something. Run away or get angry, and her normal response is just to get angry. Now, as you get to know Carolyn, over a few minutes, she'll start to calm down, and she can start to realize that you're not a threat. The problem is that she still has all this adrenaline and endorphins pumping through her. So she gets where she's just rambling really quick and talking, and she won't let you talk. So she goes from being very cranky, and you will say, wow, she's very cranky, to, wow, she's just downright rude. And then once that all settles down and she gets to know you for a long time, an hour or two, then, all that has went out of her brain and she can talk to you rationally, and she's a very loving, sweet person. Imagine someone was to pull up on this campground right now and introduce themselves to Carolyn without me here. Well, the first thing she's going to do is she's going to sound very threatening. And so the ranger pulls up, or just anybody just pulls up, and wow, boom, she's going to be just on fire. It is important that I am with her. It is important that if she comes out here to live this lifestyle, that I'm here with her, because I can play interference between her and whoever has just encroached on her anxiety. And so she can go in the camper and I can answer their questions. I mean, think about this. A ranger comes up, may I have your driver's license plate number? Where do you live? All this. Carolyn would be like, what are you talking about? Whereas I can say, oh, Carolyn, just go inside. I'll take care of this. And I can go and talk to the ranger. So imagine yourself now that you come out here and you have to deal with these things. Yes, there are going to be long stretches where you're going to be very comfortable and very happy. But then all of a sudden, this thing's going to happen. And it's going to put you in a very bad situation with law enforcement, with other campers. And the same thing with depression. I would think that if you were depressed, which I don't have near as much experience with, except from where I worked, if you deal with depression and you're out here all by yourself and you get in a depressed state, are you able to talk yourself out of this depression, or are you becoming a danger to yourself? When you're around people can say, hey, it's okay. Just here, let's talk about it. And you can talk and you can vent and you can do all these things you need to do to get over your depression. And you can cry. But if you're by yourself, you want to think about this. Is this really a good environment to be out here all by yourself? Now, for the folks that walk up on Carolyn, or folks like Carolyn, I want you to be aware of this situation. I want you to be aware that there are people out here who do have these disorders and have come out here to relieve themselves of this problem without having to medicate or self-medicate. And so when you come up on them and they are very angry at you, try to recognize that this is maybe a mental disability that is not in their control. So the worst thing you can do is call them some bad name, cuss them out, be rude to them, be insensitive. The best thing to do is just walk away from the situation. Don't try to make eye contact with them. We ran into this situation down in Florida, camping next to this guy, and you know, being trained, I knew that he had some mental issues. He was talking to himself and he would get agitated at times, but most of the time he was focused on his dog or he was focused on this imaginary person, and that was fine. Well, one day he was just swatting away and pacing up and down the campground, swatting away what appeared to be flies that didn't exist. He's just really agitated, and we're not making eye contact. And Carolyn and I said, you know, if this gets any worse, we'll go ahead and leave. Eventually, his problem became our problem. I mean, we were the source of his problem, and his problem was we were drawing these flies in with our generator. The generator wasn't even running when he was upset, but he was sure that the generator brought these flies in that was really aggravating. I could have just went off on him and we could have gotten this big fight, and it would have been a pointless fight. The more you push someone with a mental disability like this, the more agitated they're going to get. So the best thing to do is just walk away from it. Carolyn even said today she doesn't think that she could do this by herself and have to deal with some of the things we have to deal with on a regular basis without the medications. She came out here so she didn't have to take those medications, and we want to commend her for that, and we want to commend anybody who wants to get off the medications. I completely agree with that. But on the other hand, that puts you in a more volatile position where you're having to deal with these emotions on your own. Carolyn is very happy to have me to play interference when she's having her issues. So, thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe. Click like if you like the video. And